Okay, so I'm turning 68 years old. This ranch is paid for. My wife and I are very fortunate to have bought this ranch and paid for it ranching. Don't think it can't be done, because it can. 35 years, you have a note with Farm Credit, but I mean, you can pay for one eventually, maybe, if you get lucky enough. And we were just lucky enough that it happened. But you know, I understand it's easier for me to do things now, and I'm not having to hustle as hard, and I don't have land payments, I don't have pickup payments, I don't have tractor payments, I don't have all of these payments and all this financial burden and little bitty kids and shoes and all of that kind of stuff. I fully understand young people are struggling with trying to do the right thing on the land, but yet they're trying to do the right thing for their pocket too and for their family. And it is hard. It really is, and it's hard to do that. But if they could just understand just a little bit about the web of life, and I will be quite honest with you, as a first-generation rancher, in all of the circles that I growed up in, and all of the circles that I traveled in, land stewardship was never taught, spoken about. Soil health was never spoken about. Land ethics was never talked about. So now you see this shift that's coming about, and the big new thing right now is soil health, which is really, really important. And I don't understand anything that's going on below ground, but I know that it's very important, because what goes on below ground creates what's above ground. And so you have to take care of everything below in order to grow stuff on top. And you have to grow stuff on top to take care of the critters underneath the ground too. I wish that you would understand this web of life, or whatever you want to talk about, that everything is connected. And I never understood that. And partly I was never taught that. And so I was raised what I call commodity conservation, is how I was raised. When I first started out, I would go to a meeting, and of course I got the ball cap and ink pen and the hamburger and stuff. And I was told about fertilizer, and I was told about chemicals, and I was told about genetics and corn seed, and I was told about combines, and I was told about this, and I was told about that. But I was never told about the land. And so I went out there and I plowed, and I sprayed chemicals, and I put fertilizer, and I put seeds, and I did this, and I did that. And I didn't quite understand what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I never really understood what was going on below ground, and how important this prairie is to what goes on below ground, and how resilient this prairie is. And I equate it now to back then to stockmanship. And we got this new thing that's come out in the last 10 years or 15 years about low stress animal handling techniques, and the bud box and the animal stress and how you handle them, and you got to in, out, and flight zones and all of this kind of stuff, and you do all of these, and it's really cool. And so we're starting to learn about animals and how you can go in and then back out and act like a border collie and go back and forth and do all kinds of stuff, and cattle will move here, move there. And I never really understood that. Nobody told me that. They just told me, you know, you just go and you holler and you chase them, and you ran them that way, and you ran them that way, and then they ran that way, and then they ran through the fence, and we did all of that. Same way with farming. I would plow, I would chisel, I would disc, I would spray chemicals, I would plant, I fertilize. I didn't understand it. But it should be stockmanship. This low stress animal handling technique should be the same thing with the land. Instead of roping, we drive a set of cows through that gate, and they don't want to go through there. First thing we do, we just rope one and drag her through. She's going through there, I don't care. But we don't do that no more. We don't rope them and drag them through that gate no more. Now, we either change the gate, put it in a different spot, or we change the way we handle them, and they go through there. Same way with the land. We do it different now. We don't try to conquer. Instead of trying to conquer the land with all of these inputs, that I have to write checks for. Instead of trying to conquer the land with all of that, now I want to be a steward. I want to be part of the community. And so instead of doing commodity-based conservation, now I do community-based conservation. And the difference is commodity-based conservation was when you had a practice you wanted me to do, build terraces, plant windbreaks or whatever, and you cost shared with me and you paid me, and I would do them. And when you quit paying me, I'd quit doing them until you paid me some more. And then I would do that practice again because I thought that was the way you did it. And I never understood until I read a book. Someone gave me this book. And I growed up all my life and no one ever gave me this book to read until about 10 years ago. 15 now. Gosh, I thought it was just 10, but it's probably 15 years ago. There's a book called the Sand County Almanac. And it was written by a guy by the name of Aldo Leopold. And right off the get-go, and I'd never been given this book before, and never even heard of it in all the circles that I wrote in. And this book said in there, when you view land as a commodity, you own it. And you can do anything you want to do with it. It's yours. You can do it. But when you view land as a community, and you're part of that community, that's when you can really start to love and cherish land. And I thought, dang, that's right. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to be part of the community. I want to be this part of this web of life that's going on out there. I don't want to conquer the land. I want to be part of the land. And so that's a big eye-opener for me was the Leopold Conservation and the Sand County Almanac. And I'd never been taught that. And it was never taught to me. And some wildlife biologist guys and some agronomy guys have read that book, but cowboys had never read that book. And that's who needs to read the book. The cowboys that's taking care of the grass need to read the book. And then they would start to understand why instead of roping that cow and dragging her through that gate, now we figure out either move the gate or we figure out a different way to drive her through there. And the prairie is better for it. And I wished to teach that to younger people. And I think it's easier to do today than it was 25 years ago. I think all of that is easier to do today. Just due to horsemanship and the way that we ride horses and the way we train horses and the way we handle cattle and the way we do it. And when nobody's watching, we still rope one every once in a while, but we shouldn't. And it's the same way with the prairie. I hope that people start to understand the prairie and how important this plant community is to air quality, to water quality, to wildlife, to humans, to everything. And there's not very much prairie left. It's sad to say, but it's a sparse commodity right at the moment. The tallgrass prairie has shrunk dramatically. So it's important that we keep some of it around and then we try to do the best we can with it. And that's what gets me up every morning and keeps me going right now is working with the land. I still saddle a horse and I still like to chase cows, but I really like messing with the land and everything that goes with it.